that background from the we study assessing how the women were actually being empowered, then we went ahead to assess how valid are these components upon which the empowerment has been measured.
Abakyala abalina we batuuse mu byenfuna. Waliyo abasajja abagamba nti omukyala abeera n'essente amaka gatera okutabanguka okusinga ku mukyala ate nga bonna bali wansi. Mwe ndowooza yakwegere
kiva mu nkula gye bamukuzaamu mpisa ze yakuliramu. Era omukyala aba yakuzibwa nga wampisa era asigala wampisa atalina ssimu. Bw'aba yakuzibwa nga si wampisa oba osangayo n'omwavu naye nga talinamu kayisa naako abogoka n'abogoka naye nga talina adde ekikulu.
The validation study used both quantitative and qualitative approaches for assessing the validity of the gender measures for the women economic empowerment because you realize that in the assessment of the women economic empowerment, we realized that there are key components that came out from that study. One was in terms of access to income as well as assets and how these can be used, whether women have the power to determine how they are going to use these resources.
Kuba mu kibuga mulimu omukyala nga tasobola kugamba bbaawe ekiki naye mwali naye mukyalo nga gyali ng'agenda alimu ebintu bye byonna amala obubirimu omusajja yali abituli atwalire omukyalo omulala era asirike n'ekyaddeebaalimu olwo nze ngamba kuba butonde.
Secondly, we looked at control of and benefit from the economic gains of the activities these women are actually doing. But in this study, we want to validate how true that is. Okay? Okay. And then the third component that we assessed was actually looking at power to make decisions. If I want to use that plan, am I able to use it? If I want to use this money for a particular activity, am I allowed to use it without necessarily seeking kind of acceptance from my husband?
omukyala ow'omukibuga naye twaligambye nti alina ku maanyi okusalawo mu bikolebwa mu maka okusinga kuoyo ow'omukyalo. Ow'omukyalo mwami yamutegeerera bwe tuba tugeraageranya abakyala abo bombi naddala mu maka gaabwe mu bisalibwawo mu maka waliwo abasinga okuba n'amaanyi.
So it is not entirely true that the empowerment you're hearing about, those are exceptional, but what we got is that actually an empowered woman should be also that woman who values the family structure and respecting not only the husband but also listening, being able to listen to the other person. And that's what it means to be empowered. Meaning you have been, you feel that power to even listen to the young people and respect and listen to their decisions. So you have reached that level of empowerment. So for you, that is another class. There's a term they use for those, and that's not what the women empowerment actually movement is.
As far as this study, its overall objective was actually to validate the gender measures of economic empowerment under the Profila, like I've explained. And specifically, we are trying to assess the measurement properties of the gender measures used to measure women economic empowerment. And secondly, we wanted to validate the gender measures on the domains of empowerment as we've seen them up within women economic empowerments in circles and CSGs in alignment with the Profila models, because Profila had its own implementation model upon which the theory of change was designed to see that the impact can actually be done, what can be measured. In the qualitative, having established now those measures, of course they have scales. Above this, the component is valid. Below this, the component is not valid. Above this, it is scalable, or below that, it's not. Now, we wanted to validate also these figures we have used in the quantitative validation analysis, looking at the discussions of women the statements they are making and the passion that they attach to particular components when they are emphasizing it. So under the qualitative validation, this involved meetings, of course, with the selected number of stakeholders at the community and the district level, who gave, of course, their perspectives on the dimensions which should be considered for women economic empowerment within the local context. So the stakeholders included women who are members of the circles and CSGs supported under Profila, women in community who did not belong to any circle or savings group, because we wanted to have that kind of a comparison. If the woman who is in the circle, who is in the CSG, says this, and whom we, by null hypothesis, of course, whom we can assume that this woman is empowered when she looks at a particular aspect. How about the other woman who doesn't belong to any of the circles or savings groups? What are their views about particular subjects that we are kind of discussing? So away from the women themselves, we also had a chance to interact with leaders at the district level, most of whom included the district and sub-county development officers, the LC5 chairpersons, rather LC5 women councillors, district commercial officers, chief administrative officers, focal program persons of the UWEP, and the representatives of the civil society organizations working on programs for women, youth, and children. So the women who did not belong to any circle or saving group were included to assess the differences in their opinions about these issues, as I've explained previously. And that ideally informed most of the discussions that we had in the validation study, but also those which you intend to hear, and for programming purposes in terms of the policy recommendations, which can see that actually programs surely do target this way.